All right, so we now have a better grasp of the history of the idea of emotions and how they can be very useful and helpful tools to persuade your audience. Not everything has to be purely logical. The emotions of the human being are important. They've been created by God. There are different ways of knowing, as we'll look at in just a few moments. But perhaps, the most famous classical use of emotional appeals are your old friend and mine, Homer and Priam's appeals to Achilles at the end of that poem, which you may recall in those good old days, long, long ago. Priam has snuck into Achilles' tent. Here he is, the father of Hector, who has been killed by Achilles, and he gives him one of his great speeches, one of the great speeches in literary history. Remember your father, Achilles. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but you can see, brush up on it, read it again for yourself. Priam comes and appeals to Achilles' sense of filial love. Remember your father, and think of me, an old man who's just lost all of his sons. Have pity on me. Think of yourself and the fact that you are far from home. What if you get killed? What will your father think if he hears about you? I would like to ransom my son back. I brought lots of things for you. Appeal to pity and fear and greed. Remember the gods. Respect the gods. Have pity on me. There are more things going on than just your desire for vengeance and things like that. So, that's great brief speeches from, Homer. Priam uses all sorts of emotional appeals to get Achilles to change his mind about Hector. He doesn't necessarily use logical appeals on here are the reasons why, but here are some ways to sway Achilles' emotions. And as we recall, Achilles being a very emotional guy, that was the right thing for Priam to do. He wasn't interested necessarily in logic or even character. He was interested in emotions and what would satisfy his anger and how to change his emotions. So, the classical world gives us a lot of good reasons why using emotions are valid ways of getting people to believe differently, right? Why do they work? They worked because we believe that human beings respond to events the same way emotionally, and that was true in the ancient world. That is still true today. We can understand, if I was in your place, if I were in your place, how would I respond to this situation? What would it make me feel like? If you were in this situation, how would you feel? If this thing happened to you or your family, how would you feel if this situation came upon you? Good or bad, or fear or greed necessarily? Hopefully, you won't be trying to appeal to the greed of your audience, but there might be situations that we need to be more afraid of. I know there's a lot of fear mongering in politics today, and not necessarily in a positive way, but sometimes there may be situations in life that we need to be more fearful of a situation than we already are. Maybe that's why we need to think of it more seriously. So emotional appeals are common. They're universal. They're part of the human condition, just as much as logic, and perhaps even more so than logic. And people often, you probably experience this in life, that sometimes people can be more emotional than they are logical. So there are ways of knowing. They're connected to the intellectual process, right? And there are different ways to alter the audience's emotions and change their perception of reality. That's why this class, really rhetoric, is such a valuable and important thing to really get good at, especially as Christians, to help people see reality, see God, see the world for what it really is. And obviously, you're not going to be responsible for saving their souls and changing them eternally, of course, but you have tools and abilities now with wisdom and eloquence to change how people perceive you, change how people perceive reality and God. And that's why addressing the whole person, not just the intellect, but also the emotions, are very important things to do, right? Emotions, as you said already throughout these couple of videos, are means of reasoning. You get scared, you have this sensation, emotional response to danger, you intellectually change your position. You don't just necessarily rationalize, all right, what do I need to do? You take the best option. Your emotions change your understanding of situations. And that wasn't necessarily logical, but emotions can be ways of knowing things, right? They can incite action. You feel compassion for someone, for some situation. You see, maybe not an over-the-top commercial about, we have to rescue these animals from the animal shelter, but something similar, right? You feel compassion. Oh, that is a situation. I can make this better. My emotions tell me that this is not right. I can alleviate this suffering. Maybe, something that is wrong, some injustice in the world, that, I feel like this is wrong. This is a situation that I can improve. I'm going to do something about that. Lots of organizations around the world that, through emotion, maybe get started on emotion, then bring aboard intellect, but they work together to make things better. Right? Raters often appeal to emotions in intros and conclusions, and certainly as we get into your paper in the weeks and months ahead, that will probably be some of the better times to really use emotional appeals. In your introduction, as you get their attention, create some sort of vivid scene for the emotions of the audience, and oh my goodness, you're right, what can we do about this situation? This is a terrible situation. Maybe you go a little bit over the top, not too much, but just enough emotional appeal to really get the audience's attention. Maybe bring back that emotional situation at the end of your paper, come full circle, and then the audience says, yes, my emotions were tugged, my intellect was, reasoned with, and so now I will agree with what this senior thesis and paper have to say, right? So as we said, emotions are community property. They work together in common with others. We don't get angry for no reason. We get angry at a specific person or a cause. We don't feel love or positive emotions for no particular reason. Sometimes maybe once in a while, certainly you wake up and you feel cheerful or whatever, especially if it's not a school day, but we usually feel strong, powerful emotions because of specific songs, specific people, specific experiences. Emotions are infectious. Our anxiety affects others. Our calm, our peace, our happiness can affect others as well. So emotions can be very powerful. We've known that for quite some time. So how do we then do something productive with our emotions, and how do we help the audience understand them better? Well, as always, it begins with one of our key thoughts here, knowing your audience, right? As Aristotle said, you got to know your audience. What is their state of mind of those who experience these emotions? Who can excite these emotions in people? How can you, as a rhetor, excite the correct emotions? Why do people become emotional? Is it because it's a sense of, a topic of injustice or a topic of pride or whatever the situation might be? Why would people's emotions need to be, affected in this situation? All right. So we identify if the audience's emotional state is conducive to accepting the proposal. If it is, then great. You don't have to do anything else. But if it's not, right, if you're talking about some issue that your audience really believes strongly about something and your job is to get them to feel the opposite way, well, then you gotta change it, right? Emotions, as you said, change in accordance with spatial and temporal proximity to the source of emotions, right? As that was sort of like you come out of the grocery store and you feel that you see your car has been hit, you feel angry and frustrated at the time, weeks, days, months later, those emotions are not quite so strong. So your job is then to get the audience in a place in which their emotions are strong and they feel close to the situation that is bringing about such a strong or emotional reaction, right? That is your job to create those emotional scenes, right? It's important then to remember also that people tend to get less angry with people at or above their own status. You may, in some situations, get angry with people above you. Maybe, school administrators, you might feel that, they are doing some injustice to me. You get really mad, but you don't often express that to them directly. You more often than not express that anger with people below you, and sometimes you get angered by somebody above you. Instead of putting that anger back at the people above you, you more easily put that anger against people below you, and that chain of unfortunate emotional responses continues down and down and down. But obviously that's less than ideal circumstance, but I think you can get the point now that when you're trying to evoke the proper emotions, make sure that people can then funnel that emotional response, whether it's anger or pride or injustice or happiness or sorrow, whatever it might be, in the right direction where people's emotional responses will do them the most good and the situation the most good, right? Another thing to think about is, differences in social class in general, right? Sometimes it's not just about the nature of the situation, but sometimes people, for right or wrong, possibly wrong, we respond to incidents that happen to people that we care about differently from how the same situations will happen to people we don't care about or don't like as much for whatever reason, good or bad. But that's unfortunately part of the sinful human condition, right? If a house fire happens to somebody you really care about, your favorite actor, favorite musician, think, oh man, that's terrible, that's tragic, what can we do to help? If the same sort of thing happened to some member of society that you for whatever reason don't like as much, you probably think, maybe they deserved it, or maybe God is punishing them. Probably not, but maybe that is the situation. So that is an unfortunate aspect to the human condition and the human emotions, especially for sinful beings like us, even redeemed sinful beings. But it's important to remember that as you create situations for audiences' emotions to go somewhere, make sure that they have the proper direction to funnel those emotions, okay? And again, knowing the audience is super important, right? Sometimes, as Aristotle would say, going back to some commonplaces, the basic beliefs of emotions, two of them kind of interesting. Young people, he said, are more passionate than old people, right? Young get really excited about things easier than older people. They feel injustice more strongly than older people. But because they're young and their attention spans are short, their emotions fade quickly. Old people, once they start to feel an emotional situation, like suspicion or whatever it might be, they hold on to that longer. They've lived a life perhaps of disappointment, and they know how the world works, things like that. So when you're dealing with different age groups, how you appeal to emotions can also be a factor, right? And so emotional responses, there are three attitudes, hostile, indifferent, and accepting. And just like, Jesus says in Revelation, it would be better for these people to be against me and hostile, better than lukewarm or indifferent, right? Because he knew, and so will you soon, as a rhetor and user of affector of emotions. It's much easier, as illogical as it might sound, it's much easier to get emotions from your audience who are hostile to you to accept your proposition than it is to get indifferent people to accept your proposition, right? People who are hostile to something have an emotional interest already. They feel strongly about the situation. Maybe they are feeling the wrong emotions, but they are feeling them, and so their emotions are involved. Indifferent people, they don't care. They're apathetic, literally apathetic, without emotions, right? And so indifferent people, it's difficult to sway them one side or the other. And so sometimes you might, as bizarre as it might sound, you might rather try to persuade a hostile crowd more than an indifferent crowd. So something else to keep in mind there. So how can you get people to change their minds? Again, as always, what is the degree, the emotional intensity that they hold this opinion, and how closely is that emotional response tied to their identity? If it's something they really care about, something they really like, but it's not make or break for them. Is it one of their core values that they will go to jail or die for this sort of belief, and it'll be difficult to change their emotions? Or is it something that, I sort of care about it, but I'm open to new opinions, new ideas, that will make your job for appeals to logic and appeals to emotion that much easier. So emotional appeals, very useful, very important. And this last little video, we'll talk a little bit about the situations in which you use emotions, and try to go over your homework so there's hopefully less confusion with this next assignment than there was with the last couple. All right, we'll see you for one last video here for Pathos.